Hello there, my name is Mark Barnabas, your data protection pal, and once again, welcome to an Eye on Privacy, where we address topics and concerns on privacy and data protection that affect you directly. And the article I'm featuring today is an article I've taken from the New York Sun, or the Sun from New York City rather, titled "Parents, Not Government, Should Oversee Protecting Children's Online Privacy." Of course, in the US, we know that there's COPPA, a law that governs how organizations or companies should handle and process the personal data of children. And it's not just the US, but there are other jurisdictions and regulations all over the world that include the GDPR in the European Union and also the PIPL in China that have very clear statements or articles that talk about how organizations should handle the data of minors, and in this case children. And the only problem is this: different countries have different definition of what children is. Go check it out. Europe, US, and China all have different ages. Oh gosh. But anyway, where I hail from, Singapore, in the PDPA, the Personal Data Protection Act, there is no clear specific statement that talks about handling of children's data. However, it has been observed that whenever a data breach occurs and children's data is involved somehow, the penalties and enforcement done to the organizations are a lot more severe. So, somewhat Singapore also does have a more stringent coverage of children's data or the data of minors. So the question is it the parents' responsibility or is it the responsibility of the state and even teachers or schools to educate children on privacy and even teach them to protect their data? I was an ex-teacher before, and I really feel that schools should have data protection and privacy education as part of the curriculum, and that is why I have developed this tool here called Data Heist to educate on cyber security and data protection. But I think parents should also play a very important role to educate their children. After all, I mean, for very much of the early childhood, I think parents would spend a lot of time as they nurture and rear their kids as they grow up, right, before they go to school. And even at a very young age, 3-year-old kids, 2-year-old kids, you see parents dishing a device to kids when they're crying. I really cannot condone such a act, because while these devices are useful for work and convenience, but I think they shouldn't be, these digital guys shouldn't be babysitters. And when kids go online with this to watch YouTube and what else they go online, I think it should be taught well by parents, because I think the age of which kids start to use devices and go on the internet is getting younger and younger. I was told by a friend who has a kid who is now about 22 years old, that his kid who's 22 years old, the millennials, not the ones that grew up without the iPad, versus his other child that's about 14 years old that grew up with an iPad. Apparently his older son didn't really like to use the iPad so much, but the younger one, oh gosh, so fluent in the iPad. And he observed that as they were growing up through high school. And this is a very important observation. And therefore, I believe and feel that it should be the responsibility of parents to educate their children and help them to learn about protecting themselves online before they go to school. And when the school starts to repeat some of these topics on cybersecurity and cyber hygiene, the kids would then start to anchor them, and sounds familiar, right? And of course, again, when they are in high school or college, they can begin to start to understand some of these principles that were shared in school and by their parents. So I think it should really be a kind of a tripartite kind of a thing: parents, schools, as well as the children themselves. So there's an interesting article that I picked up from a screen grab from Channel News Asia, the news channel that is based in Singapore. And this article talks that, says that 20% of Singaporean parents have not addressed online safety concerns. It's a good news. However, I really wonder how valid this data is, because I think cyber attacks are becoming more frequent, and I think kids really need to be educated more. So I think the schools are starting to see more education. In fact, my team and I have just started to do a cyber hygiene training in a school today as we speak. Another statistic is this, and this is a very disturbing statistic that more and more children are getting unwanted attention from strangers. Not only children, I think you and I as adults so also, right? That we see weird people talking to us on social media, hi, asking for favors and yada yada. So we really have to be mindful because I think these attacks will just keep going up, and we really have to educate our children to be very, very vigilant so that they do not fall prey to this cyber threats out there. So parents, teachers, government, let's all work together to ensure the safety of our children. And more importantly, I believe with proper education, one day, perhaps, we will not have any more hackers because we would have a world where everybody respects personal data, respects privacy, and do things ethically. Of course, I know it's a pipe dream, but I believe we should do something now. All right, so this is my thoughts, and I am doing my part by educating the world on cyber hygiene. So I've created Data Heist, the first ever learning resource to educate about data protection and cyber hygiene. Feel free to connect with me. I am at markbarnabas.com so that I can perhaps talk to you about it or even send you a set for evaluation. So this is especially for educators, professionals who are in the advisory scene, and also for institutions. So my name is Mark Barnabas, your data protection pal. Remember, education is the best way to prevent cyber attacks. So be good, be safe, see you real soon, take care, and be good.